creating career pathways for adult education students. And there's a lot that is assumed when creating career pathways about the student, about the career, about the pathway. And so we want to try to debunk some of what's assumed and help really get to a point where there's conscious, deliberate thought put behind the pathways and the steps that we set for our learners. Some folks will be coming through in a minute in case you hear some noise. No problem. Let's start with, who am I? Who is this chick even talking about all of this stuff? I am the Director of Community Impact for LCMC. And so community impact is all about making sure that we're able to kind of penetrate into the community, meet the needs, position persons and community members partner them with the services, the resources that they need to be successful, and put them on a path that will give them different and better results than they've been getting on their own. And so the career is kind of one of those paths, but there are a lot of factors that affect it. But I am the director of that department that handles that for LCMC. When you look at different educational institutions, they have different kind of roles who handle that sort of stuff. Student services, student success department, all of those are different titles for people who would be responsible for maintaining this type of work around pathways and career pathways. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. The goals for this workshop, we want to make sure that everybody understands the importance of career pathways and not just kind of educating folks and throwing them out into the world and hoping they're able to apply what they learned to an actual career, or they're able to apply what they learned to their life and actually be a better person, right? We want to make sure that, again, it's deliberate action behind this with expected and intended results for that action. So we want to make sure everybody understands the importance of this first and foremost. Come on in, come on in. We're going to talk career readiness, career path, career pathway, student career pathway, and all of those terms don't mean the same thing. Hello and welcome. They kind of had subtle nuances that would change the meaning and the intent, and then of course the application of them for our learners. I'm looking there and at you. I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. I'm looking all over. All right. We're going to go through some steps for creating some career pathways, and we're going to talk about those building blocks, the necessary pieces to student success. I know you are K-12 predominantly, right?
Yeah,
work with it.
Primary right now, just second grade, third.
But even though we're focused on adult learners, this concept of creating a pathway for someone, it really doesn't have an age requirement to it, because if you think about talking to a kindergartner, and what's one thing we say, what do you want to be when you grow up? That mindset has already begun thinking about a career pathway. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a Superman. I want to be Batman. I want to be whatever it is. They've begun thinking about who they are and who they want to be. And so we want to talk from an adult learner perspective. What do we want to do? The steps that we want to set up to be able to create these pathways and the building blocks that are necessary. And then we'll just talk about some things to consider and some things to remember. And the time on here is a little wrong, so I am really looking for my
2:09.
Awesome. So I'm gonna keep you as our timekeeper today, and just kind of let us know, all right, when I'm around, when I'm at the 30-minute mark. All right, so let's talk the difference. It's not just semantics. Work readiness, career path, career pathway, student career pathway. There's a little bit of difference in all of these. Workforce readiness, that is simple preparation for somebody to enter into the workforce. Now, from an academic perspective, oftentimes that looks like a resume writing workshop and an interview skills workshop. Go get a job. Like, that's not much else to it. Some programs can go in depth about improving your communication skills, being able to present yourself with confidence. Of course, depending on the learner will depend on how in-depth a program might go with that. If there is an English as a second language component to the learner, then you might have some of that conversation practice, because academics would work on the reading and writing, but you might need help actually being able to communicate verbally and building confidence around being able to articulate yourself when English isn't your first language, for example. Now, a career path, this assumes that you're already inside that industry. Like, I already have a job as an educator. What is the path to becoming a principal within that industry, right? What needs to happen for me to go from a teacher to a lead teacher, from a lead teacher to a vice principal, from a vice principal to a principal, from a principal to a superintendent? It's within the industry. So this assumes, a career path assumes you're already in that career. A career pathway gets you to the industry so that you can then begin to create a career path. But what is the pathway through life, through all of my challenges, through my lack of education, through my lack of training, to get me to that first entry-level position? That's a career pathway. Now, the difference between a career pathway and a student career pathway is literally that word student. There's going to be far more to this. There's going to be more education that needs to be connected to this, whether it's you need to get your high school diploma or you need to build your English language skills. And of course, the education around the industry as well. What are some things that you'll need to be able to support yourself in getting that first job? What are the things that you're deficient in now? So you're a student, you've got this academic component as well as this career preparation component that takes place. It's kind of like when I used to play sports in all of my educational institutions, and they called us student athletes. We could have just been athletes, but they had an expectation around us being a student as well. We had this path of becoming, now they didn't have the WNBA when I was playing, okay? We knew you stopped at college or you went overseas. Like, that was the career path. You stopped at college or you went overseas. So they really stressed being a student athlete because they were like, hey, when you get out of here, you're either going to become a mom or you're going to go work. Like, for women, there weren't that many options, but they had to stress that student part so that we would keep our focus on academics as well as the career part of being an athlete. So it's the same thing. Student career pathway is focusing on being able to make sure you're successful in those academics as well as what you need to succeed in that career path. Now, again, workforce readiness, the first thing they work on is this resume, which is hard to do when you're dealing with learners who perhaps have no skills. Or like some of our learners, they may be asylum seekers and they're coming from a country with zero. Like, how am I going to create a resume out of that? But this is the gateway into any job, right? I don't care if you are working at a warehouse. I don't care if you're, shoveling dirt from one pile to the next. I don't care if you're holding a stop sign at a construction site. No matter how menial they consider the job to be, you still have to start with a resume and an application. And so work readiness, the bar is relatively low. They just want to get you employed. Do you have the documentation that you need outside of a resume, like an ID, a social security card? Do you have, are you able to get to this job? Do you have a driver's license? The basics of being able to just be employed? That's workforce readiness. There are more people in this pathway than in any of the others, because everyone just wants to get a job. They're in survival mode. Let me just work, feed my children, feed myself, be able to pay rent. Let me just work. Can I just get a job? And so that's workforce readiness. There, of course, is another level beyond this and below this. And those are the folks who they forego workforce readiness and they take any job they'll get. And unfortunately, those are the people who get very hurt, often traumatized. I've had learners. It's everything. I've had learners who they were undocumented in this country, so they're afraid to go and apply for anything that might actually be able to sustain a household, because now you're going to ask for one of these. You're going to ask for paperwork, and I don't have it. So I'm just going to take whatever you give me, and I'll take the money under the table in cash. And of course, that employer is not counting you on taxes. They're not counting you on this. They're getting over so many different ways. And if that employer comes one day and they're like, hey, listen, I can't pay you this week, I'll pay you next week, you have nothing that you can do. There's no retaliation because you're undocumented. You're taking money under the table. And so people who end up in this workforce readiness stage are typically tired of living that life, or they're looking for another way to begin to build up. And so it's hard to really address the needs of that population of people without dealing with a lot of the political stuff that's going on. We can offer academic services to anyone. You can always teach somebody how to read, how to write. But then if I get you to the point where you have even a high academic level and you're ready to go into an employment, you still are back to not having this paperwork, and it becomes a challenge. But assuming they are in a place where we're able to connect them with somebody who can and will employ them, they still need the basic paperwork. That's what workforce readiness looks like. Now, a career path, like I said, there's an assumption that you're already in an industry. This particular one is HVAC, for example. And the path would be, okay, you need your high school diploma, and then you enter into an apprenticeship program. And typically when there's a career path, you kind of know what to expect along the way. And it lets you know kind of what the ultimate goal is. That's any pathway should have those components. Where am I starting and where am I ending, and what does it look like in between? But again, a career path assumes you're already in that. You already are in this industry, and this is just the steps to progress. And so, you know, outside of this, once you hit ownership, it's all on you. There's nowhere, well, no place else really to go according to this career path. And so many learners are happy with that. But then if you want something new, now you have to start on a different career path for this particular industry, at least. And these are the things that you have to think about. These are the things you have to think about. A career pathway kind of adds that component of education, so you can kind of see, okay, who is going to teach me along the way so that I can continue to grow and I can continue to learn. I see Garrett raised his hand. Did he have a question?
So thinking in terms of mentorship?
A career pathway would involve something like mentorship. So like an apprenticeship program, you're likely working on the job with one of these persons in one of these roles, and you're assisting them, you're learning as you go. And so they're mentoring you in that program. You end up, depending on the program, I've seen some programs that they just really use apprenticeships as free labor, and it's kind of horrible. But if you work it right, then you're really getting the experience that you need. But if you sit there and wait for somebody to say, go do this and really educate you when they're trying to work, like imagine this being plumbing, right? This is a plumbing apprenticeship. They're trying to get the job done. So they're going to say, hand me this wrench, hand me this pipe, and may not explain to you, hey, this goes with this because. And so you really want to make sure that if you choose to do a career pathway with an apprenticeship program or partner with somebody who has an apprenticeship program, that they in fact are really at the same standard of education that you would be doing if your program was executing that yourself.
And I guess an example of that would be what's taking place in my mother's neighborhood about, I think my brother-in-law is into home improvement. He says that Montgomery County Public Schools, students actually build homes. Yeah, so she was saying that for those who are online, that Montgomery County Public Schools has a program that kind of what we used to call home ec. Yeah, they have home ec, but they have some programs, and not all the schools in Montgomery County do it, but some of the home ec programs are a little more elaborate, to the point where you've got a lot of hands-on experience before you graduate. You know how to build a house. You've run wires for electrical. You've done, drywall for construction. You've done these things. The challenge is, and we're going to talk about some of the components and building blocks in a minute, but if you have one piece but not the other, then it's like, great, I taught you all of this entry-level stuff, but I never connected you to somebody who might hire you. Like we did this for high school, but we didn't collaborate with any employer that says, hey, once you finish that program, come to us. And so now there's a hole. And so it has to be a complete pathway that can really show how to be successful. Otherwise, it's just kind of doing stuff. And we can't assume the learner is going to know how to put all this stuff together and make it make sense for life. Did he have a question?
Okay. So, no problem. Garrett, let us know if you do have a question. A lot of our programming and most of the programs across the nation really are tied to money from the Department of Labor, because the Department of Labor wants to make sure that people are working, right? Especially after this COVID situation where everybody was on, everybody was laid off, or, they couldn't find employment that would let them stay at home, or that changes the number for the nation. And you kind of hear these numbers during the news, the employment number, the number of new jobs that were created, the number of, labor pays attention to that. And so they created this kind of model for career pathways. Again, this is just career pathways. This isn't student, the part that we're going to add to it. And so they've got this diagram where it's prospects for good paying, stable employment. Your prospects go up as your occupational, your academic, and your life skills increase. So if you have a student who's right here, they're likely unemployed. If they can get a job, it's low wage. It's probably very taxing in terms of their energy, their time, their body. And that's because they haven't gotten the occupational training. Maybe their language skills are off, or I know somebody who's now in an electrician's apprenticeship, and the amount of math that they have to know. Oh my goodness. Is my mic okay? I'm sorry. I know it's hitting me. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so they didn't have the math skills, and then just general life skills. I don't know how to get up on time and be someplace. Like, I don't know how to do that stuff. I don't manage my time well. I know I'm supposed to be here, but I got to drop my kids off, and I don't manage my time well. So that brings them lower. And so as this increases, your prospects for a better job increase. And so academically, they fund these types of programs where there's basic bridge programs that's supposed to get you from this hump over to this. It's a bridge that will help give you some of those foundational skills that you don't have. And then you've got kind of semi-skilled jobs. Okay, you need to know how to work a cash register to work at McDonald's. That's a semi-skilled job. It's not what they would say is not rocket science, but yeah, there's a lot of people who don't know how to push that, or don't know how to make change, or don't know. It's a lot of people that don't know how to do that. So it's semi-skilled. And then you've got some of these entry level. Yeah, can I get from the register to manager? Because that's going to require a little more. McDonald's sends you to McDonald's University. They actually do. They have a McDonald's University, and they educate you and train you and certify you to be able to be one of their managers. But that might just be a manager of that one store. What if I need you regionally for all my McDonald's? Or how about you take over the whole East Coast or all of North America? As your skills increase, your potential for better employment does. And so this is what the Department of Labor uses to say, hey, we need to fund more programs here, because maybe we're seeing that there's not enough movement from here to here, or not enough movement from here to here, or people are getting stuck here. And so the middle income of society is starting to lower, because we either have a lot of people or few people making a lot of money, or a lot of people not making a lot of money. And there's not, and this is what our society looks like. This feels funny right here. Are you sure this is okay? I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. Forgive me, y'all, for a second. This is just hitting my throat. Okay. So this is a rough example, and let me move this, of what our current student pathway looks like. And it's just, again, we're working on our graphics, forgive us. But of course they enroll, then they go into our digital literacy boot camps. We've got a couple bridge classes for G Suite and for Microsoft. And then they go into IT certification and prepare for CompTIA A++ certifications, which we don't do. We pass them off to a partner. But what you see that's different in this one than the other pathways is that education. We're considering, where are you now? Let's test you. Let's see what score you're able to accomplish now. Where is your reading level? Where's your computer literacy skill level? because you can be the brightest mathematician, you can be an awesome person who can read, but you have no clue how to work a computer. You cannot do one program online. Then that absolutely is going to lower that diagram that we just saw. Your skills are deficient. I can't put you in upper level management if you can't if you can't create a flow chart. You don't know how to use spreadsheets. That's my nemesis.
Yeah,
Excel spreadsheet. That's my nemesis. I could be the president of the universe right now if I could just get them spreadsheets. Man, I'm telling you, not even a job, but you'll know it's a job when I get it. And you'll know I did great on spreadsheets because that's the only way I'm gonna get it. Anyway, but we have different skills. And even here, once we get to kind of an advanced level, we enter in mentorship. We have a community coaching program where we partner learners up and really have somebody kind of help and walk them, encourage them, show them the steps to get to a particular goal. So it's not just, this is the path for you to get to IT certification. This is the academic skills you need, the computer skills you need, digital, the numeracy and literacy skills that you need. This is the social service support that we're going to integrate within this. This is everything that you need to be able to get you toward that particular goal. This is the pathway. And that's what a student career pathway kind of looks like. What time are we looking at? Hey, I'm right on track, y'all. There's some puzzle pieces. They got to work together. They got to fit together. Social service, these are the four primary ones. I mean, everybody kind of says it, but this is kind of the first visual that I've seen of these puzzle pieces that need to fit together. You need academics of some sort for a student career pathway. Again, literacy, numeracy, that means you can read, you understand numbers, can compute without a calculator, as well as understand your digital literacy skills in case you need a calculator. Can you work it? And language skills. And language skills don't fall under literacy. Literacy falls under reading and writing. Language skills, can you communicate, in this case, in English? Now, depending on the occupation, you may need to be multilingual, but are you proficient in all of those languages? Or are you just kind of struggling, because then are you really effective? And so academics is one piece. Those soft skills, do you have your resume? Do you have the proper outfit to go on an interview? Do you know how to conduct yourself in an interview? Do you know how to answer the questions that they're always going to ask? What's your greatest challenge? And we always sit there like, oh my goodness, nobody's ever asked me that before. Mm-hmm. Yes, they have. The last interview did. But do you understand how to communicate how you think and how you feel? Do you understand timeliness? Do you know how to utilize critical thinking skills? Control your anger and your emotions, like all types of soft skills that we try to kind of survive in this world but we don't necessarily deliberately focus on training those skills. I have a student now who she has this tremendous math anxiety, and she makes an effort. She shows up to class, but inevitably she gets frustrated and she logs off. She's like, I can't take this no more. She'll ask questions. She'll feel like she's bothering the class by asking questions. She'll have this conversation in her head and she'll get frustrated. Communication is not just about me communicating to you. It's that conversation, that mindset, that self-talk as well. And that requires actively building that skill of being able to control your, and that's what I tell her all the time, because she'll go into this rant. Man, they don't know and they don't want, and I'm trying, I'm doing my best. And I'm like, breathe. You got to learn to manage your emotions. But if she's only been in an environment that was like, no, say what's on your mind, she's never been forced into a place where you've had to control yourself. That's a skill that she doesn't have. And I can't put you in the workforce like that, because you're going to kirk out on somebody's client or customer and you're going to get fired. So that is definitely a puzzle piece that has to be fulfilled. Then you've got social services. What are some of the barriers? Do you have clothes? Do you not have an interview outfit because you only have one outfit? All your money for clothes is going to your children. Are you eating? Are you eating well? How many times are we just like, we brain fog because we didn't have breakfast? Imagine not doing that for a couple of days in a row. Do you have transportation? Absolutely. Do you have money for the bus system if you don't have your own transportation? And on. The different barriers to even being able to think about this stuff. I can't sit in class if I can't get to class. Okay, well, it's virtual. I can't sit in your virtual class if I don't have a computer. All right, well, we'll give you a computer. I can't sit in your virtual class with the computer you just gave me if I don't have no Wi-Fi. Like barriers. We've got to address those before we can even really get into the hard skills of what that industry requires. Like the industry needs you to be able to do X, Y, and Z, but you have not plugged these puzzle pieces together yet. And we're focused so much on this. Oh, you're going to be, you know, a barber. We're putting you through this track for you to get your master barber certificate. Okay, but I can't speak English. So if they tell me I want to fade, but I give them a mohawk, like what's going to happen? We've got to have all the pieces together and they've got to fit. We can't focus one piece over another. When you're talking about a student career pathway, you've got to consider all of them. They're the building blocks to their success. Yes. Oh, thank you. My time. He took your job. You've got, these are the building blocks to student success. One without the other, you're going to build something wonky. And it's not going to be as successful as it can be. You've got to make sure that they've got those soft skills and you can't take any for granted. What are the basic ones? Like generate your program, your class, just generate a basic list of what a successful person would need. And they're all over the internet if you need a place to start, but you know, just general confidence. Can you think through a problem? Or are you always, hey, show me how to do this? I don't know, or just not even asking for help. Like asking for help is a skill unto itself, right? Don't even know how to ask for help. You just say, okay, I quit. I'm not even gonna try because I don't know how. Communication. When you get to academics, all of these, digital literacy is the one that folks keep ignoring. They assume that if you have a phone, then you know how to use a computer. And it's funny, what, maybe 10 years ago, I'm showing my age, before this digital literacy issue, before this became an issue, it was the belief that if you had a television, then you knew how to use a computer. And everybody's like, no. And now it's, if you have a smartphone, then people assume you know how to get online. When you're online, you know how to complete forms while you're online. While you're completing those forms, you know how to submit them properly. You know how to attach things. You know how to, and if you don't, I just gave you 5 skills right there. If you're deficient in those, you can't attach a resume to a email and send it out. Just those 5 skills alone, I can't even apply. But if I could apply, but I can't get to it, or I don't have a place to live, so I can't clean up and present myself to this job properly, or I'm hungry because I'm always feeding my child, who I have to bring with me to work, by the way, because I can't afford childcare. They all have to be addressed prior to us even getting to here, which is why, again, that if you look at the pyramid, that base of workforce readiness is so broad because most people can only deal with that. Let me just work. They're not really able to deal with all of those. And so what we try to do at LCMC is address as many of those as possible so that there is student success in this pathway of their career and not just focusing on the career. So some steps to creating a student career pathway: you got to do your research in the industry, right? What does this industry require? What industries have a void that our students could fill? Because we're going to lower that barrier there, right? If they're looking for people to come work in this industry, then, and we have people who are looking for jobs, they just need training, then the likelihood that we can partner with somebody who needs that void filled is greater than if I'm like, you know what? We're going to create a student pathway to everybody being gynecologist. Like, that's going to be a little harder. It's just not that. There's tons of gynecologists out there. However, there may not be as many female women of color in IT. And so let's fill that void. They're looking for them. They're funding programs that will help people bring women of color into computers. Do your research. Local research, what's in this area? National research, what is the industry at large doing? Even globally, since there are so many jobs online now, right? Who will utilize somebody who's willing to, somebody who's at home with 3 kids who can't afford childcare, but is willing to work and willing to learn how to work if there's a position available. So do your research. Consider your program's capacity. That's staff, that's resources, that's funding. If we say, you know what, we did research and there is a void of Black women in computers, great. So we're gonna get all these Black women in here and we're gonna train them in computers. Find out that 80% of them do not have computers of their own. So now we've got to give them computers, but we never considered who's gonna pay for those? Who's gonna pay for these computers? Oh snap, somebody donated the computers, yay! All we have to do is load the newest version of Microsoft and wait a minute, who's paying for Microsoft?
So does that fall under the 5 developing partners? It
can absolutely. It can absolutely, because if you consider this, then you'll know who you need to go partner with. Do I need to find a business who has some extra licenses that will gift them to us because we're a nonprofit? Maybe they can write that off. Do we have do we need, can we partner with somebody who already teaches this? And so we don't have to use our own in-house staff? Once you answer this question, yeah, you'll be able to know whether or not what you need to do down here. You got to consider the populations you serve and need. It would be awesome. We found this void. We need Black women. We're going to put into IT. We're considering our staff, our resources. We got all that together. And then we look out and we are in the middle of Iowa corn country. Ain't too many Black women in. So it didn't matter that we did all of this. This is why we have to think about all of these things. Who is our population that we serve, that's under our mission, that's assigned to us to serve and meet their needs? That is who you want to make sure that they're able to do the thing that we're like, we can be good-hearted and want this for them all we want, but we don't want to set them up for failure either. So if our population is one that is perfect for what we found out, and if they're not, then we do some more research and find out another pathway, perhaps another industry that we might need to address. But we've got to consider who we are serving, what their needs are. Get some women in IT and they can do remote work. Childcare now isn't an issue. We've taken care of some single moms and helped them in their life, in their household, without disrupting it by making them go off into an office because we put them in HVAC as opposed to IT. Consider the goal and the mission of the program. Is the goal to get numbers? There are programs that I know that the goal is really just get people enrolled. That's it. We need to get people enrolled. We need to show that we got a program that's working. Let's get some people enrolled. We know people like this. Like, get them enrolled. But they don't really think about the mission. Like, what is the purpose of this program? If we get 5 people enrolled that fulfill the mission and will say this program has successfully changed my life, versus 500 and none of them finish or are successful because we were just focused on the number as opposed to the purpose, and that's a problem. But then yes, we need to develop those partnerships. We need to look into the community. There are other stakeholders who have a vested interest in making sure the people we serve become successful in the workplace. Bare minimum, the average citizen living next door, because if that person is in a place of destitution, they're at their last dime, or have no more dimes to give, they're hungry and they're at a place of desperation, who is going to be affected by that? The person they rob, the person they steal from, the children who they can't feed. So absolutely, there are other stakeholders in the community that have a vested interest in making sure that the work that we're doing for the citizens of our community are successful. That could be a TANF office that supports clients with food stamps, with transportation credits, with what have you. They need to make sure that they've gotten through the doors, the population that they're serving. It could be a housing community who has set aside apartments for domestic violence victims or something, and want to make sure that their stuff is being served. So they're looking for some of the, maybe we decided we were going to serve women and they're looking for some women who perhaps might need housing. There are the partners there. Where are those partnerships? And there's partners within the industry. For example, if we say we need IT, there are people within the IT industry who have a vested interest in making sure they're continuing to bring in new talent and they're continuing to build up the industry. So yeah, we develop some partnerships and then start with one path. That's just my suggestion. Sometimes people will look at an industry and say, okay, cool. HVAC, refrigeration, electrician, they all fall under the same industry. Let's start everybody on all of the stuff around construction. It's like, okay, can we pick one? Let's make our mistakes. Let's figure out what works, what doesn't work. Let's show some success in this one. And then we can roll out others. We can figure out extensions from the one we did. We don't have any questions, right? Okay. So what time are we looking at? Quarter till? All right, let's do this real quick. Let's build a quick pathway, a hypothetical pathway, just so you could see kind of the thought process that needs to take place. Again, my goal is to have us be more deliberate in what we choose to do and offer to learners, to community members. We've got to be more deliberate. Why are we doing this? What is the expected outcome? What is the benefit? What is the harm, the potential harm? What are the voids? What are the things? So let's think of somebody. I don't have a marker. Yes, I do have a marker. Awesome. Let's do this real quick. It's actually my last slide, if I'm not mistaken. Things to remember. Yep, last slide. So let's think of an industry. Give me an industry. Food industry. Yes, people online, folks, feel free, participate. We have somebody at the chat monitoring. If you could think of an answer to any of these questions before I get to them, go ahead, throw it in there. So we're going to do the food industry. When you say food, what are you thinking? You thinking food service? Food service. Okay. So we'll do food service. That's part of a larger hospitality industry. But that's when you talk hospitality, you're talking customer service, food service, maintenance. There's a whole bunch of little pieces to it. So I like that you were very specific in food service. Who's the type of student that will benefit from this pathway? Are these men? Are these women? Are these young folks? Are these minorities? Are these, who we trying to serve here? Who's our population?
Late teenage, late teen, college.
So young adult. Okay. And you said what? Yes, so everyone can benefit, yeah, right? Yeah, because when you cast too wide a net, you don't catch nothing. So we're looking at young adults. Are we looking for minorities? Are these people who have English as their second language? Are they native English speakers? Do they have high school diplomas?
Some may not have high school because they're like 12th, 11th grade ahead of them.
Okay. Okay. All right. So they need a high school diploma. Are these minorities? Okay. I feel like it can be. I mean, I feel like we gonna say African American? Yes.
I have one in the chat. It says anonymous. It says safety and cross contamination.
It says what?
Safety and cross contamination. Cross.
Safety and close is what? What are they responding to a question? Oh, in terms of the industry? Yeah. Security?
Safety and close contamination.
Safety and close contamination. I don't know that industry too well. Give me some more on that. Whomever left that comment. So we're dealing with men and women. All right. It's a pretty good picture of them. So native English speakers, young adult, need high school diploma, male and female. Awesome. What's the goal for the end of this pathway? Do we want these folks, are they food handlers? Are they caterers? Are they prep folk? So food handlers, all right. And there is a certification that goes with that. I believe it might be a license and a certification that go with that. So food handlers, awesome. That's the goal. We'll say certified and or licensed food handler. Cool. So now we've got the end of the pathway, right? They're down here as a food handler. That's the goal. What academic skills and level do these folks need to become food handlers? Because for them to do this, you would think, oh, well, you're just moving burgers from here to there. You don't really need to do anything, right? Okay. But
you need to know contaminants,
which it might be what they were talking about. Yep, you need to know the laws and the rules around contamination, food safety, prep, what is it called? The OSHA requirements. OSHA is the licensing folks who certify you for the safety protocols and whatnot. Yes.
The info is from Daniel. Daniel was thinking of food handlers and chefs.
Food handler and chef. Okay, awesome. So we were on the same page right there. Yeah, that's a little. You can be self-taught as a culinary person, but then even if you are, you've got business stuff that you have to attach by the time you get to that part, right? If you're working for somebody, or if you're working for yourself, you've got to order food. So that's math. How much food do you order? There's proportions. How much do you need? Once you order something, yep, food science, what will poison you and what won't. Absolutely. Absolutely. What academic skills? So we know that they need a certain level of reading and math, because we're talking, and even science, when you brought up, food science. So they're going to have to get that high school diploma. So that has to happen concurrently, right? They've got to get those skills. They're in the kitchen, maybe not customer service skills where they need to really be able to communicate, but they need to be able to manage time, right? If you cook the food too early or too late, then based on the time you're supposed to have it done or have it out, or you pass it off. Absolutely. So you've got some soft skills that you need to deal with. You got coworkers, you got time management. Yep. Those are some of the soft skills for them to be successful. If they go past food handling into becoming a chef, we know they need to know things like budgeting for food and inventory. Oh, that's good. What barriers is this person going to have to overcome to be able to find success on this particular pathway that we may need to address for them? This is to this person. Oh, all the isms. Yeah, we'll do all the isms. Racism, sexism, absolutely. If there's any, trans people here, you're dealing with all of that in society and whatnot. Absolutely. But this is somebody who's coming from their mama house into the world as an adult. Oh my goodness, what is that? So we're definitely gonna have transportation issues. As long as you are not cussing mama out, she might let you stay there a little longer. So hopefully housing won't be an issue. But we know they're gonna have transportation issues. So we've got to deal with that. We've got to give them the social skills, which can probably fall under soft skills, the social skills to be able to handle when, somebody comes at you incorrectly. I'm scrolling through this fast because I know we're almost done. What capacity do we have to support learners in this pathway? Now, we're not all of the same organization, so think about what capacity would we need to support them. We clearly need somebody to teach GED classes, right? So we need instructors. Yes.
Invite people in the industry to come in and give guest lectures and set up mentorship.
Mentors and partners. Yes. Safety, customer service, resolution, FDA, OSHA, all of those. Yep. So we need multiple types of, we need high school instructors, we've got mentors, we got partners, we need the industry instructors. What else do we need? Do we need a kitchen? Do we have to teach food handling? Do we need to like go rent out somebody's kitchen, or are we good? Can we do this in a book? So at some point, we're going to need a facility. Maybe we can partner with somebody. We may not need to buy our own, but we're going to need access, facility access, kitchen access, tools. Yep. There's one program that when they finish the program, everybody gets their own set of like culinary knives and stuff to
work with a college that has a culinary program.
Yep. Did I put that there? Who do we need? Yep. Who do we need to partner with? So she said the college, culinary program. Can we partner with somebody like Marriott? Can we partner with somebody like some caterers? Yep. Maybe some caterers who own their own business that are willing, they need the help and they're willing to pour into somebody. Absolutely. Now we've got some partners. So now we've got to figure out, okay, we've got these pieces. We can figure out what we have, what we don't have. What are the first 5 steps we need our learners to do? Now, the first thing clearly would be enroll. They need to enroll in a program. We need their information. We need to know how to communicate with them, how to contact them. And we need to report back to whoever's investing in all of this, I'm sure. But what's the second thing they need? This week is hard. This work is hard. This work is hard because now we've got all these puzzle pieces, soft skills, hard skills, partners, tools, the end goal. We've got all of these pieces. Now, how are we going to put this thing together? We got to start them somehow. Now, we're about to end, so I don't expect us to get all 5 right now. I just want us to do. We got them enrolled. That's the first step. Do we? Yeah. So what do we need them to do? Do we need them to commit to a workshop to build these soft skills before we put them in class? Do we need them to have the whole day available? Are we going to ask them to do 3 hours a day for 5 days? Like, what do we need them to do? Do we need them to invest any money in this? Are we asking for a student fee to defray some of this cost? Are we asking for them to do an assessment so that we know their level? And then what kind of assessment? Is it just around the GED, or is it around digital literacy? Is it around their ability to read measurement cups? What is it that we need them to do next? Because we're going to have to ask them to invest in their own future.
I would say something along the lines of training. Self-training or things to work on.
Can you do a survey?
That could be on the list. We could do that before they enroll if you want it. It's up to you. And in what order, what time of day? Are these daytime students? Are they nighttime students? Are they weekend students? Do they have kids? Do we need to see if we can partner with a daycare to watch the kids while they're in class? Is there only a certain number of students we can have in this program? In which case, do we need to convey to them that you have to have this, this, and this in by this date, or you won't be in the program? Like, it's so much to think about. It's so much to think about. But we have to think about it deliberately to be able to ward off any challenges that might arise later on. Now, the beauty of all of this is this last part. Just know it takes time. Be patient. It takes time to create this. We just did this little scribble in 15 minutes, but we got stuck someplace. So you might have to walk away, come back, think about who you got, talk to some people, come back, walk away again, come back, talk to one student, then go talk to another student and figure out what works, and then come back. It's going to take time to create. But it also takes time for the student to complete it. Once you have a pathway set, this could take 5 years for one student. It could take 6 months for another, particularly since you got this high school diploma that they don't have yet. You don't know how long it's going to take them to do that. So do we run the food stuff concurrent with the education? It's going to take time. Be patient. Teach them that soft skill of patience and resilience, being able to continue to press through even when it seems like this is so far from this. That's why you need to integrate these small wins. If you're doing workshops around time management, for example, give them a certificate at the end. They got their OSHA, give them a certificate. Give them a map, let them see how far along they are, and let them plug in their stuff along the way so they can see this is worth continuing to fight for. Involve the learner in their own metrics. That's what I mean by let them see that, you know, hey, you did it here. You were great here. You were almost there. You just needed 5 more points. Let's do this again. Let them see that. Communication is key. Articulating to them so that they're a part. This is a team effort. This isn't just me telling you what to do. You need to be able to see how this applies to your life so you'll repeat it again in the next scenario and won't get derailed like you did in the past. Collaboration is vital to success. I think we beat that drum a lot already, but it really is. We cannot operate as an island. And adjustment's not failure. If we build this whole pipeline out and, you know, we start with 20 students, only 2 of them become food handler, that's not a failure. We just need to figure out, okay, now what happened? Where did we lose people? Did we not have enough of our services? Was it too hard for them? Should they come in at a higher level? Maybe they do need a high school diploma and they need to enroll in that program before they come. Who knows? But that's not a failure. We just got to keep pressing on. Yes.
Daniel from online says that we might need a one-time orientation for them to fully comprehend.
Absolutely.
The program, maybe 1 hour in person or online.
Absolutely. Because communication is key from the top. So they need to know what you expect of them before they commit to something. And then once they commit, you need to be able to reinforce that over and over again. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hopefully this will just kind of give you some thought around how to execute a pathway or a program for an adult learner, or even for some elementary schoolers. Hey, you can never start too soon, right? But understanding the keys and the pieces to the puzzle matter, even if you don't create a full pathway. Understanding how things affect other components to a student's success is super important. We can't just assume somebody wasn't successful because they didn't go to school. It could be that they didn't have food. It could be that they didn't, or whatever it is. We need to be more mindful that these pieces come together ultimately for the student success. So thank you. Make sure you all fill out your survey. And we have brown bags coming up. Those are our monthly trainings where we continue to offer professional development. I'm doing the first one next week. Oh, goodness. Next week. So you'll get an email about that and so much more. Thank you all for being here. And thank you. Have a great day.